Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Aidan Lee. He uses martial arts to help dads build a warrior's physique and Zen work-life balance so they can lead their families by example. Welcome to the show, Aidan.
Thank you, Ajay. Great to be here, and I'm looking forward to share what I can with the audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this online form straight away from Sri Lanka. So that's very nice to know. And we will talk about martial arts, about how one can use martial arts to take their health and fitness to the next level. And I'm sure not just in India, all this will benefit, a lot of people across the globe. So, my first question to understand from Aiden is that how did you get to martial arts? Why are you teaching martial arts or telling and especially focusing on that? Help us a bit with about your background so that people know why should they be listening to Aidan Lee and especially about what he's talking. Who is Aidan Lee?
Thank you. Well, this is partially why I'm in Sri Lanka. My late father, he was my first martial arts teacher. So he's from here, from Sri Lanka. I decided to come back and live here recently, but growing up, he was my first martial arts instructor. He had one of the first martial arts schools in the area since the 1980s, and it was one of the main ones. And he was actually one of the first people. It was when the kung fu karate craze was coming along in the 70s and 80s with Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, and all these people. And what happened was he started to blend different martial arts together as one of the first in those areas to do that. So he was blending boxing, kickboxing, things from karate, things from kung fu, and so on. So I was at the forefront from 4 or 5 years old to really learn how to take, as Bruce Lee said, to kind of take what is useful and discard what is not, and then make the rest uniquely your own. So I was very fortunate to be in that position. So by the time I reached about 10 years old in his dojo, which is just the word for the martial arts space or hall, I was able to start teaching in his classes a little bit and help out. So now I'm 32. So for the last 27 plus years, I've been in martial arts, and my main specialty there was kickboxing through my dad. But since I've explored boxing, Muay Thai, Wing Chun, MMA, BJJ, but really going back to why and who I help, and I find it fascinating actually. A lot of Indians and even Sri Lankans and people in this area, they have a natural affinity to martial arts. And why I help dads is I used to run a martial arts school before I came here, and I gave it up because I found that martial arts in the modern world has a very different application to when I was growing up and doing it old school. It was very hardcore, very different. And what people need nowadays, especially when it comes to their health and fitness, and if you like modern health problems, they need to get and stay in shape using a skill that they actually appreciate and love, and that will last and stay with them for the rest of their lives. So why dads? Well, a little bit selfish. I'm also a dad now of 2, but I also realized that in societies, if we can fix dads and we can help them be the best role model, the best leader of their families, then they will create the next generation to be much more healthy physically, mentally, and spiritually. So I think if we focus on people like that and dads, the impact will be much larger than if I just focused on having my old martial arts school.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. So, in terms of martial arts, uh, a lot of people have heard about martial arts. They have seen movies also, Bruce Lee and all the other actors you talked about, so they know about it. But there are so many things, that is associated with, martial arts. So, for a general person who has seen some things, heard about it, if you can tell what martial arts is all about purely from someone who wants to understand it in a wholesome manner about it, because this is such a great thing about it, but we only have heard about it, we want to know it. So how do you tell about martial arts so that people get interested in learning about it?
So originally, it's great to look at the word. You want to understand it. Originally, martial arts was obviously used for self-defense, for combat, for war, and so on. And the word, martial is the war part of the word. And then the arts is, well, how you take that and spin it into your own version. So again, I'll reference and kind of quote Bruce Lee again, is that these kind of people, and reason why someone like Bruce Lee was such a visionary and why he captured the attention of people who weren't even interested in martial arts, is because he caught that essence of the art side of it and made it relatable to everyone's day-to-day life. So in simple terms, it's basically a way to preserve yourself physically, and then the next step is to grow yourself mentally. And then the last, but also very important step is to develop yourself spiritually as well. So martial arts is really one of the very few, there are others, but I believe it's one of the very few disciplines which captures that in a real great way, where it's a physical, it's a mental, and it's a spiritual discipline combined into one. And in a time where mentally we're very lost, physically we're very weak, we're sick as a society, spiritually we're also very devoid of certain things and foundations. Something like martial arts can bring us together. Yes, it starts with the punching, the kicking, the self-defense, but once you get beyond that, you realize, oh, this is also what some call a way of life as well, where if I live by the principles that I learn in martial arts, I can be a better man, I can be a better dad, I can be a better husband, I can be a better member of society, and so on. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, indeed. So, how can one get started? A simple person who is either in a small place, a large place, an office going person, someone who is beyond 50, who is martial arts for? Is it for everyone, or is it only for some people who are already very fit?
No, great question. I'll actually share a story. One of my recent students, Jamie, he's, I think, 46. So bear in mind, he just started when he was 46, right? And he didn't really have much experience apart from growing up watching Bruce Lee and things like that, and always wanting to be that kind of person one day where he could be able to pull off a few moves. And how you get started? Well, he didn't have much equipment. He's one of my online students. And you really don't need much. You just need yourself and your body. And this is what's great about it. Sure, we do recommend, you have a few pieces of equipment and this and that. But the essence of martial arts is that you learn to master your body as the main piece of equipment. And then afterwards, you start to branch out into other things. So a simple few practices to make it tangible for, everyone here on the KAJ show is that you can do a simple practice, but not easy, called shadow boxing, which is where you may have seen people doing moves like this, stringing them together and so on. So this is where you're punching, kicking the air, throwing your attacks, defenses, moving around. And this is a great way, sure, of cardio exercise, sure, of practicing your techniques, but also three, of visualizing how you can put your techniques into practice in a more flow-like scenario. So that's the simplest way I'd recommend people to start. However, if you're a complete beginner, I understand it can be very hard to do. So the other option is you just practice the individual techniques first, and then you build them up into a flow later. And that is, of course, an art, and that is what we teach as well. But once you kind of go from an individual elements and techniques and you branch them together, within a few months, like I was talking about Jamie, you can really do something quite special. Like he lost 13 kilos in 12 weeks. And he, had a beer belly and, that kind of physique as a middle-aged guy. And he did that mostly through his martial arts training. Yes, we add in functional strength and a few other things, of course, but one of his main interests was that he was picking up a skill. And that's where a lot of people, they struggle to get in shape or stay in shape, because they go to the gym and they think, and they need to lift like a bodybuilder. But most people find that boring, or they get injured. So whatever you like to do with your health and fitness to achieve your goals, you need to find something that is sustainable and enjoyable and teaches you something in the process.
Right, right. Tell us about, FitRoots, so that, how people benefit from that. And is it also available online? Can martial arts be learned online? Say, maybe watching videos or watching you teach them. How does that work? How do you work? And what are the generally people coming to you for? What exactly they want to do with martial arts? Do they want to go for self-defense in office if the boss gets very cranky on them? Or do they want to uh, have take get back to whoever they want to get back to? Or do they, as you say, it's about health and fitness? Tell us about this, so that how can people get the best out of you, and if you are not available, how do they go about finding the right person for them?
Great question. So for sure, firstly, the path of ideally of martial arts, especially in the modern world, is um, is peace first, but it's kind of like Niccolo Machiavelli's like iron fist in the velvet glove. It's like, okay, if you need to use it, the option is there, but hopefully you don't. And it's better to be ready and be dangerous than be weak and not be ready. So that's the mentality there, because self-preservation and self-defense is a natural part of our history, but in a modern times, it's kind of been taken out of us to make us less, should we say, masculine? But that's another story. But let's go into what you're saying and how we can help, really help people. So yeah, look, there are two parts to it. If you want to learn martial arts, for example, to be a fighter, and your goal is to be a competitor, then look, you can learn online. I do learn. I used to compete and fight, and I've learned much of my own martial arts development has come from self-exploration. So that's me looking into things, particular nuances, changes, certain skill sets within martial arts I want to learn. That's great. But however, I feel like it's best that you have a foundation and you're taught by someone who has already walked that path. Now, that doesn't matter too much whether it's online or in person, but it does depend on your goals. Again, if your goal is to become a fighter, to be sparring, getting head body contact, then you need to do that in person. Hence why, for example, when I used to have a martial arts school, that's what I did. So if that's you, then you need to find a local martial arts school. And in terms of which martial art to find, well, it just depends on your preference. There are two types: there's hard and soft. Soft martial arts are like Tai Chi, Qigong, and those kinds of things. Hard is like things more I specialize in, like kickboxing. Then there's Muay Thai, boxing, MMA, and so on, especially all these more modern-esque martial arts. But the other flip side of that is your everyday guy who's probably just, much of your audience, AJ, who's listening to this, they want to get in shape, they want to feel better, have more energy, keep up with their kids, and, make sure they're leading by example, being a good role model, and all these things. Now, for those guys, they just need to pick up a skill which will help them to get and stay in shape. And, almost you can build like a fighter's physique, if you like, from home, not by doing much. So it just depends on your intention. And that's what I'd say. If you want to be a fighter, to recap, you need to spar, you must do it in person. If you just want to get in shape, build your confidence, be an example to your family, then start and the key is to find the right teacher. I've had many, as you probably know, with your line of work as well, AJ, but many teachers in martial arts and in life and so on. And many times you could be taken down the wrong path by being taught the wrong way. So better to be making sure your principles are taught right first. And your other part of the question, AJ, in terms of what we do. So very briefly at FitRoots, the main differentiator is that we combine basically martial arts, functional strength training, and philosophy. Why? Because I found one is not enough by itself. People need a mindset shift. They need to grow their mind, and philosophy is the greatest way to do that, I believe, because it helps you to learn, as my professor said, not what to think, but how to think. So once you learn how to think, then you can apply that to your training. You can also get stronger, fitter, and healthier.
Right, right, I did. So in terms of, you talk about dads, how they can, make best use of martial arts. What about women? How can they also, make the best use of martial arts? Is it the same thing, or they can also look at it? Women can also look at it the way men can.
Great question. So when we had our martial arts school, we had talked about this quite a lot. And in fact, we actually at one point used to run ladies only classes because it was, shall we say, popular by request. But then we stopped doing it because we didn't believe in it. And this kind of helps to answer your question. Is for sure, martial arts is for everyone. I think everyone should, for example, my children, I've got one daughter, one son, doesn't matter. I'm going to treat them both the same in regards to how they have at least a very strong baseline to defend themselves. So the first point is everyone should be able to defend themselves, because especially in the modern world where community is lacking and things are changing, people need that ability. And it's not nice, but we need it. So that's the first point. Secondly, women, yes, for sure, they can and should learn martial arts. My wife has done and does as well. And I think it's very important that when women learn martial arts, that they focus much more on technique and they become much more technical than their male counterparts. And typically when we were teaching women as well, as they were, because they're a little bit more mobile, a little bit more flexible, sometimes they're actually technically a little bit easier to teach. So that was a bonus in their part. However, because of the strength differences, this is why women need to be even more diligent with technique and also have a different strategy, right? If I was having to have an altercation with a woman for some reason, then typically, unless she's extremely strong, she's probably not going to match me in terms of strength. But she could do something to surprise me and to put me off, which gave her enough time to just get away, at least from a self-defense perspective. So we also have to look at this from what our strengths and weaknesses are and make sure we play with or against them if we need to.
Right, right. Eden, in terms of, martial arts, people have heard about it, but there are certain myths that you talk about. So help us understand, if you can break those myths for people so that, those things, whatever they keep on hearing in their own manner, they get to know what exactly, the truth is all. And who better than you to, dispel those myths?
Yeah, for sure. There are many myths, and some range from the outright crazy to just general things which if you've not been involved with it, you don't know. So we'll start with some couple of general ones, and if you have more, AJ, feel free to ask if there are some specific things you've wondered. But one of the first things, especially for people who aren't that way inclined from a say energy, maybe aggression standpoint, is some people maybe think, oh, it's way too aggressive. But the way to look at this is, look, I mean, especially with the people I help, dads, is if your child was being attacked in front of you, you would hope you would step in. Now, again, you would rather be prepared for that and be able to step in and help your child than not be prepared for that. And of course, that means you need to be physically fit, physically healthy, and you also need to be able to channel aggression in a positive direction. So is it aggressive? Well, yes and no, but just like any art or any movement, any sport, when you put that much energy into something, yes, it can be. However, I found that some of the calmest people, most respectable, humble people I met are martial artists. Now, are there some martial artists who are the opposite of that? Of course. But if you find the right ones, then I find them to be very calm because they've put that energy into something that helps them to develop, and they haven't kept it inside of them, which then builds up and comes out in other negative ways. So I'd say that's the number one myth, but feel free to ask if you want to expand on some more.
That is fine. I guess, people will have to learn a lot about things, and you can keep on listening about anything. But the most important thing is when you come closer to it or try to find out more, the more you seek, the more you know. And martial arts, I guess, will be is one of them. So for that, you have a FitRoots Modern Warrior Transformation. Tell us a bit about that, and what is the best way for people to make the best of martial arts, make the best of you. How can they approach you? What is the best way to get learn from you through your school, through your what you are doing?
Yes, thank you, AJ. So yeah, you mentioned briefly that FitRoots Modern Warrior Transformation is our signature program for busy dads who are looking to build a warrior's physique, strike that Zen work-life balance, and be a leader for their family and lead by example. The best way to contact, I'd like to give your audience some free value. First of all, make sure that I can actually help them with something for free. So if you visit fitroots.co.uk/train-smart, I've put together a free video training on the 5 ways to discover how you can build muscle and burn fat with just the right 30-minute workouts. Because I find most guys and dads and even ladies as well, but especially the guys I work with, they tend to not train properly and then wonder why they get bad or lack of results. And then they either give up or they keep doing the same thing over and over again. So if you go through that training, the 5 ways that are really key to help you understand what to change in your training and how to then boost those results, and make sure, especially if you're time strapped, how you can do that all within 30 minutes a day. So I'd go and check that out as the first place to start. And then after that, if you want to check me out on socials, all the links there will be relevant to you as well.
Right, right. So what is the best way for them to connect with you, to get to understand more about your program, to understand with you, to directly link up with you? Because a lot of people are from, and also do you hold online classes so that people from across, who are not from Sri Lanka or away from Sri Lanka, they can learn from you?
Yeah, great question. So I don't do online classes anymore. The way we do it is more like one-to-one or in groups. So we have a one-to-one program or group. And we have our own app where all the training, programming, everything is detailed and customized to the individual. So everything is laid out there. And then we have what we call our one-to-one warrior activation calls each week. So these are one-to-one coaching calls. And then we also have group coaching calls as well. So that's how we kind of structure our program in a very high level way. And then in terms of where else they can find us, that link is the best way. But if you want to catch me on social media at all, any social media channel, especially Instagram, very active on, it's at Coach Aidan Lee, which is CoachAidanLee. But the link, fitroots.co.uk/train-smart, is the best way to get some access to some free trainings to start off with.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.